Hey everybody, my name is Greg Nicolette, and I am here on a lovely morning in which a friend of mine asked me about my experience at what's called the spotting sessions as a film composer. And what spotting sessions are, if you're not familiar, is a meeting basically between you and the director. Might be between you and the editor on the film. The music editor might be there. Some of the producers might be there. But in general, what it is a chance to watch the movie in the current cut, usually with temp music in place, and I'll get into that in a bit, and talk about the music for the score. Talk about what you're going to do. You can present your ideas, they present their ideas. Sometimes you'll talk about specific ins and outs, when the music should start, when it should stop. Maybe you'll talk about ways the temp music works, ways it doesn't. But in general, I like to look at it as a hangout, and a place to sort of talk really conceptually about the score in broader strokes. Because, it's quite possible you've had those conversations before, right? Maybe this is somebody you've worked with a bunch of times, so you know their taste. And maybe you've even read the script and talked to them about their visions for the music before they even shot the film. But what's unique about the spotting session is that this is the first time that you're sitting down watching the movie that's actually been shot, right? And so you're actually seeing how the temp score will work with what you managed to capture in camera. And that can sometimes be a little different than what you might have imagined just reading the script, right? So in a way, it's the most valuable meeting you have before you start writing. And it's possible you'll have ideas already that you'll want to present, but I always like to go with an open mind. I mean, even if I have themes written and, sounds made, I may or may not present them depending on how the meeting goes and depending on, what's said and what ideas are brought out, right? Because this the whole point of this meeting for me is to be flexible. It's a time to sort of just spitball. Imagine that budget is no object, time is no object. You can do whatever you want. We just want to imagine together, have fun, imagining what can happen musically in this movie, right? And that's a really special time because you may not have that again once the deadline starts, getting closer and other people start bringing their opinions to bear on the project. So what do you want to do in a spotting session? Well, I wrote a couple things down. I said, do keep it conversational. And as I said before, broad strokes are better, I think, than specifics. Technically, a spotting session refers to, coming up with the exact start and stop times of when the music comes in and out in the movie. And that's what you'll usually read as a definition in most textbooks. But the thing is, I've never been in a situation where that mattered. Number one, cuts are never locked. So even if you have specific frame timings, those are going to be changing constantly. So just having a general sense of the ins and outs of a particular scene is fine. It's better to have a general understanding of what the director's taste is than to be having copious notes with the exact frame to the second, where they think they want the music to stop. Knowing something that they love scores that have long fade outs so that they can tailor the ending. As a general rule, that's really useful to know. I knew directors who loved that. Knowing directors who hate that, who prefer scores to kind of just have hard outs, that's something great to know too. And those are the kinds of sort of tendencies that you establish through general conversation and not worrying about the exact frame a score may start or stop in, right? So you're keeping it conversational, you're spitballing, you're not negotiating. Like I said, don't worry about budget. If you've only negotiated enough to do a score with, a cello player and a washboard, but they want a live orchestra, well, okay, there might be an issue there that you need to address later, but don't address it here. You want, at this point in the meeting, to really make a case for why you can either score it with a cello and a washboard or have the director talk themselves into why they need an orchestra, which at that point you can go to your manager or your agent, or if you're negotiating for yourself, sort of just bring it up a little later, saying that, hey, by the way, if you really want to do that live orchestra, here are the prices that I can offer for that. But don't bring it up in the meeting because that really will just kill the mojo. And you don't want that. You want it to be just free-flowing, organic, and fun. Let's see. Oh yeah, questions. Really important to ask questions, but I definitely found, and this might just be the kind of person that I am, I asked way too many questions. I would try to get them to really commit to different ideas or different concepts in the meeting, when really that's not their job, right? Their job is to sort of steer the ship. I think Elmer Bernstein said that if a director knows exactly what they think the music should sound like, then they don't need a composer, right? And I know some people interpret that as an arrogant response, but I don't think it is. I think what it really means is if the director knows exactly what the music should sound like, and I mean exactly, they are either a composer themselves or they have temp music in their minds, whether they're songs or other scores that are already perfect matches, at which point, I don't know, they really should probably just license those tracks, right? I mean, there's a reason why Quentin Tarantino is considered a genius with music, right? It's not because he's a composer per se, but he does have an amazing musical taste, right? And that's obvious in the soundtracks he puts together. Okay, so don't ask too many questions. Just get a general sense of what they're thinking. Don't like if you ask a question, maybe I would say rephrase it mostly twice at tops, because you're not going to get more information after that. It's just going to feel belabored. And another, just a general strategy when you are asking a question, oftentimes I find that I may not exactly understand what they're saying. Like, I don't know exactly what they think, it might seem like they think they know what they're asking for, but I'll, as the composer, I really might not understand it. But even if I don't understand it, it's always great to sort of show that you understand it. And a simple technique of doing that is to simply say back what they said to you. So if they're like, we want this scene to sound like a parrot having a meeting with a rhinoceros rex. Rhinoceros rex is not even a dinosaur, but let's say that's what they said. A rhinoceros rex and a parrot. And like, okay, sort of like like high squawks over there and really some real low rumblings over here, right? And just sort of cacophony, right? You can just sort of say something like that, and if you're on the right track, they'll smile and nod, and even if you have no idea how you're gonna handle that, that's okay. At least they have a sense you're on the same page with them, right? It's important to feel like you're on the same page, even if you don't know exactly how you're gonna execute it. Okay. So one of the things I mentioned that you may deal with is temp music, and I've worked with directors who have varying degrees of specificity with their temps. Some have temp score that is it's just perfect. They're beautiful constructions. The movie feels finished already with that temp score in it. Those are the absolute hardest projects to score, right? Because they're already being presented with something that works. How do you then come in and not how do you come in and add something of value that isn't already there if it's already working beautifully? Well, one of the ways I like to do that is to find any way that the temp score isn't working, right? There's always going to be something that isn't exactly how they envisioned it. So focus on that. Find places you can make it better. Don't be in a position where you can only deliver music that's almost as good as what they heard before, because nobody wants to be in that position. The composer nor the director. And then finally, I'll just say a couple just general guidelines for how to conduct the meeting. Don't feel like there's a time pressure. If there's a part of the movie you really want to get to, jump ahead to it, or if you don't necessarily feel like you want to ask any more specific questions, go off on tangents, talk about music you like, talk about the last band you saw live, like 3 years ago before that pandemic hit, right? And just keep it light. Oh, and also, most important tip, always have food and water available. Hungry people are cranky people. You definitely want them to have a chance to eat if they haven't eaten before the meeting, and if possible, grab lunch in the middle. That'll provide a nice organic break, allow you guys to reset your brains and allow your subconscious to do some important work. All right, that's about it. Feel free to ask any questions in the comments, and I hope this was helpful.